Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, switching to my radio voice. And today I have with me James Benham, CEO and co-founder at Terra, CEO and co-founder at JB Knowledge, which is the original company, and author of, and of course, I don't have the book name in front of me.
Be your own VC. Yeah.
Be Your Own BC. Oh, and fellow podcast host with my very good friend Rob Galbraith of the InsurTech Geek podcast.
Yes.
Perfect. So, James, first of all, thank you for joining me today. I know that you're on the road and I think running a little bit of a cold, so I appreciate you making the time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always good to guest on other people's podcasts and not have to be the host.
Fantastic. So we always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch. Now, in your case, with a more complex background that most founders that I have on the show. So yes, I want to hear what Terra is,
Yeah.
but
Thanks.
I think that your overall story is kind of fundamental to how Terra came to be. So you tell the
Great.
story however you want to tell it.
Sure. Yeah. So again, James Benham. I live in College Station, Texas. We call it God's country. I went to Texas A&M, world's finest institute of higher education. I'm a big fan of A&M. I loved it so much I never left town. Started JBK in my dorm room in 2001 and bootstrapped it to what it is today, about 270 employees that work in insurance technology. We've been doing it for quite a long time. We had a couple of other SaaS products. The biggest one was called SmartBid that we ran from 2006 to 2018. And I sold that to the company that owns Vertafore, actually. So it's called Roper. And Roper acquired that from us in 2018. And we pivoted right into building Terra. So we love software. We love technology and love insurance, and have been really busy in that space for a long time. I'm a lifelong coder. I started writing code when I was 11 years old in school, and got really into it in high school. Got to run an internet service provider in the early 90s, back when the internet just came out, and was really involved in technology and the internet in my teenage years, and then got a degree in accounting and a master's in business, and then rolled straight into this. Terra is our latest effort that we've been running for the last few years. It's a next generation cloud-based, cloud-native, AI-enabled claims and policy core platform for work comp first organizations. And we really distinguish ourselves and differentiate ourselves by being far easier to use, far easier to sign up, far easier to set up, and having some really great tight integrations with ancillary providers, really tight integrations with payment providers, really tight integrations with the entire ecosystem that our clients have to work with, and really executing work comp really well as general liability, property, auto. But it's really hard to do comp well and to have all the integrations you need to execute a comp claim. Comp claims can last 120 years. It's very different than property and auto. And so that's why we started with claims. We moved on to a policy underwriting, billing, rating system, all in one. We wanted it to be cloud native and API enabled, and we wanted to provide like super great technology, but also automate a bunch of the menial tasks that underwriters and adjusters that we see them still struggling with every day. JBK, the mothership I started in my dorm room, is a professional services organization for carriers, TPAs, brokers, MGAs, and ancillary providers. And we've been doing that for 24 years now. And we build bespoke systems. We take over managed maintenance of legacy in-house claims and policy systems, and do customization and bolt-on work for stuff like Salesforce, and do ETL work with MuleSoft, you name it. We solve our clients' application and data needs. And again, in the insurance space. And we have overlap where we have some people that are Terra clients, some people that are both Terra and JBK, or just JBK or just Terra. But in all, about 270 teammates, still bootstrapped, no debt, never raised any rounds of funding. And my co-founder, the world's best co-founder, Sebastian Costa, he and I built a really great team in the United States and Argentina and in South Africa. And so we've got teammates all over the world, and we've got clients all over North America. And and get to go to work every day and have fun. Met some amazing people along the way, like my podcast co-host Rob Galbraith, and we started the InsurTech Geek podcast a few years ago, and have a lot of fun doing that. I'm fortunate to get to speak at a lot of insurance conferences, about 20 to 30 a year, where I get to go and speak and hang out with other InsurTech geeks.
Fantastic. I love the passion that you clearly bring to what you do. I am super, before we dig deeper into Terra specifically, I am super curious on uh so tech nerd uh in the 90s, right? To the point of running an ISP during high school. You go to college, major in MIS, if I'm not mistaken, which I did too.
Grad school,
Uh,
yeah, undergrad in accounting, yeah.
oh, undergrad accounting. Okay. How so what I'm curious is so you start JBK, which I'm guessing is your initials and
Yes,
the word
yes,
knowledge, right?
yeah.
Okay. So you started to provide tech services. How did you end up focused in insurance?
Oh yeah, right. It's like I love asking anybody insurance how they ended up in insurance, because it's always an interesting path. Very few people go to college for insurance. It does exist, but very few do, and most of them have parents who are in insurance. I did not. My dad owned a manufacturing company. My first 8 clients, none of them were insurance, but 3 years into business, 2004, I got really involved with one of my friends who went to A&M with me. Was a M&A guy. He was buying companies for a holding company, and they bought an insurance services company that did underwriting inspections for property insurance. So they would go and go and check the roof out, or go do the roof report, or they do a property inspection. And we ended up building the software for them that would manage their inspections. And through that, we got to integrate with State Farm and USAA and Nationwide. And that was all in '04 and '05. And I was like, man, this is cool. This is way cooler than working for my manufacturing clients, who I loved. I loved them, but like I really enjoyed the insurance data work. Like it was, man, this is really interesting. And you're dealing with big numbers and big problems and big money, and it was really, really challenging. And so started diving down that rabbit hole. And then in 2008, that was my only insurance client for 4 years, and learned a lot though, because I had to integrate with all these big property carriers, and really it was like a baptism by fire into
Yeah,
insurance.
all running legacy systems,
All, yeah,
running on
old,
mainframes.
yeah, this is 21 years ago.
Yeah,
Old legacy systems. We had to integrate with it. We had to build it, host it, manage it, integrate it, and there were no APIs. It was a very different time. And so in '08, my some very close friend of mine's in New Orleans introduced me to this legend in work comp named Skip Brechtel. And this guy's a legend in comp. He knows everybody in comp. He's been in comp forever. And Skip met me and said, "Hey man, we need a lot of help over here in work comp." And so I ended up diving down the work comp rabbit hole with Skip and his company, CCMSI. He was the executive vice president over at CCMSI. And then through them, I met other amazing comp carriers and comp ancillary service providers. And then, kind of jumped back into property, and then spread out. And we work for multiple property carriers, TPAs. Then we started landing health, life, and disability. I have 2 health, life, and disability clients. And so it's been a really interesting road. But that's how we kind of got that start, was just a friend gave me a chance on a small company, and it ended up being the right chance.
yeah, and you accidentally answered the second question, which is why focus on comp.
Yeah.
So
Well, I didn't really answer why I'm still focused on comp. I stumbled into comp because of a connection, but I focused on workers comp with Terra, and I'd say like 60. These are separate companies, Terra and JBK. I'm CEO of both, but they have their own dedicated teams, right? In Terra, I focus on comp because I think comp is underserved. I really do. And I've been doing this a long time, and I wanted to provide an affordable core system. Affordable. You've probably never heard that word associated with core system, but an affordable core system that would actually integrate with all the ancillary service providers, provide a claims data benchmark, integrate with all the vendors and payment vendors, and really provide a cloud native AI enabled experience for comp. But why I just think work comp has a lot of solutions, a lot of problems that we can deliver solutions for. And so And they have a lot of complex needs. You're functionally learning everything about medicine and everything about indemnification, and it just you have indemnity claims and med only claims and indemnity and medical, and then you jump into you have claims that are lifetime claims, or they survive the claimant, so it can go 120 years. It's just really interesting. I'll be honest. As an ADHD kid, I get really bored, and work comp provides this like limitless supply of different stuff every day that keeps me interested.
Perfect. Okay, okay. So okay, so you said so. Okay, so Terra, next generation cloud based. Okay, so cloud based.
Cloud native. Cloud native.
So yeah, when you introduced it, you said cloud based and then cloud native. So that's what I was going to ask. What's the difference at this point? I think most of the newer systems are cloud. What does cloud native mean, and
Yeah,
why is that better?
when you go and you look at the incumbent providers out there on core systems, they were not designed to be run in the cloud. They were designed to run on servers. And so they did what we would call, and remember, I'm a pretty technical co-founder. I used to run all of our servers for the first 10 years. So I was the server admin. I was the lead tech support guy. So they did what we call lift and shift, where they did P2V, physical servers to virtual servers. And even to this day, they're still really running on Windows servers. They're not in a serverless architecture. They're not using App Fabric. They're not using Data Factory. They're not using all these tools. And so they don't scale well. They're not, it's not a service oriented architecture. They don't have APIs fronting all the transactions. There's just a lot of technical underpinning on these apps that make them way more expensive to run from a hosting perspective. They don't use blob storage, or there's a lot of things they don't leverage. And if you really dug into their architecture, you would call it fake cloud, because really it's just the same application they've always run lifted and shifted onto a virtual server being hosted by Amazon or Azure or Google Cloud or whatever they're using. And that doesn't end up scaling well for insurance organizations. They also can't go in and leverage all of the beautiful cognitive services or AI services. We use Azure, and so they call it Azure Cognitive Services. They can't leverage everything you can leverage when you're cloud native, right? And so like we don't segment hosting charges for our clients. We just charge by the claim, or we just charge on their premium for policy. It's really a simple charge, and it's fully bundled all in one. And it's hard to do that if you're in this fake cloud, physical to virtual. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, cloud native is an important topic because it allows you to properly leverage everything that the modern cloud providers have. And we have all the data security that we need. We're SOC 2 type 2. We've done all the audits. We've done all the so I think that's the real difference. Is there's very, very few of the 36 or so core systems that we track and follow. Very, very few, and I mean low single digit, are cloud native and can really truly leverage all the AI services that you want to leverage to get things done, and can really truly leverage all of the options that you have available to you. And that's reflected in the way that they bill. It's reflected in their contracts. Like, we don't have contracts, literally no contracts. Our clients can leave anytime they want. When they sign up, they just pay, quarter to quarter. It's really, really remarkably simple. They can leave at any time. There's very few barriers to signing up with us, and there's zero barriers to leaving. They have access to their data anytime. And so being cloud native allows you to really rethink your contracts, your pricing, the AI services that you have. We've already rolled out note summarization. We're about to roll out file summarization. We're doing all kinds of cool things with two-way texting with claimants, and that really comes because we're truly cloud native and we can move a lot faster. We can deploy code a lot faster, but we can also deliver modern services. Power BI is native and embedded in the application. I mean, all of those things come with cloud native. That's why I say cloud native is different than cloud based, because most cloud providers just did a P2V converge physical to virtual, and they're still running on the same architecture they run on for 20 or 30 years.
That makes perfect sense. And you mentioned the 36 core systems that you track. Very few of them, like low single digits, are cloud native. Out of the cloud native ones, are you guys the only ones focused on work comp?
No, no.
Okay.
There's a couple of us that are focused on work comp that are cloud native. I mean, look, it's capitalism, brother. You know, you got competition. It's very very hard in modern software to find green field, but there's very few competitors, and I can tell you, we're probably the only one that's bootstrapped and doesn't have investors and isn't trying to raise money. You know, we don't go raise rounds, we don't go to investors. And so I know that when it comes to our business model and the way our company runs, the longevity of our company and our team, I know that we're unique in that regard.
And that allows you to run it thinking long term, not thinking exponential
Yes,
growth.
yes, VC funding. And of course, I wrote a book called Be Your Own VC about the benefits of bootstrapping. But being bootstrapped allows you to put your customer first, not the next round of investment. And that's such an important topic that you have to get through to people, because when you sign up with a core system, you're signing up for a relationship. Like we do fixed fee conversions. Conversions are a big deal for TPAs and carriers. And we just fix the fee, and we're driving time and cost out of that process because we want our customers to go win as much business as they possibly can. Well, so they depend on us being good at service delivery, which, by the way, we're really good at service delivery. We do our own implementations and our own services because we've been doing it for 24 years, right? So it's really really important, I think, to sign up with a team that has longevity, experience, has secure funding, and is not worried about the next round they're raising. They're worried about you, the customer, and what your needs are. You know, in January when 1099s come around, you got to roll those out. You don't want them worried about their round of investment. You know, it's you know, customer first is such an important part of this. And I think it's often overlooked. You know, it's you know, and when you're raising rounds of funding, you're much more concerned about your A round, your B round, your C round, your exit than you are about taking care of
Mhm.
the customer.
Yeah, but by definition.
You have to be. You have to be because the cash will run out if you're not focused on it.
Mhm. At 1,000%, it's hard to build bootstrapped, but the long term results, uh,
Yeah.
you can stay true to your vision, put the
I
customer
call it
first.
I call it the long, slow, painful way of building a software business. It's painful. I mean, it's painful to to have to, of course it forces you to live inside your means. It also forces you to be lean in your operations to improve efficiency and eliminate waste and really pay attention to your unit economics and make sure you're not losing money on every unit that you sell. There's a lot of irrational behavior that occurs in venture capital and private equity. So you've got to stay focused.
Okay, so fixed fee conversions. You're the first person ever in the podcast to say that. So that really caught my attention. Okay, so in my experience in our industry, switching systems is horrifically expensive, takes forever. You need a third party to implement it.
Yep.
They're almost always above budget
Over
and
budget and
yeah, yeah, and 2 years late. Uh,
yeah.
so basically, you if we're a carrier and MGA doing a lot of work comp or work comp focused, you can get us off of our old system and into this cloud native state of the art system
Fix fee.
and guarantee the cost.
Yeah, I guarantee the cost. Here's the other crazy thing that we do. You ready? Because this is going to blow your mind. I don't collect a single dollar until after we're live.
Really? Okay, so you're not charging for the conversion, or you're charging me
Every
post.
competitor I have that I know of, okay, maybe some will listen to this podcast and go out. Because look, you can innovate in technology all day long, right? Like but I think you can innovate just as much in your business model. We don't charge a dime until our customers are live. I don't charge them for the fixed fee conversion. I don't charge them for their first quarter's license. I don't charge a dime until after they're live and using the software. And if they don't get live or they get unhappy through that process and they cancel the contract, they owe me $0. And we financially guarantee to our clients. And I tell you this, for smaller clients, like smaller TPAs and MGAs, and we all, we can drive that fixed fee down really low and sometimes even zero if it's easy enough for us to do the migration. And that's the real interesting thing. Like if you got a small SIG, man, I don't need to even collect setup fees from you. We're just going to start charging licensing after we go live. If you got a bigger, a regional TPA or a mid-sized TPA, and we got to do a big onboarding, and hey, we fix fee, guarantee the cost. And if we don't go live on time and you don't want to stick with us, you don't owe us a dollar. And look, we do that because we stand behind our company, stand behind our products. The same thing we do in our service business. So we're innovative all day long on our user interface, our user experience, our APIs, our connectivity, our use of artificial intelligence, our use of third-party product. Look, man, we're innovative out the yin yang. But the other companies that are too, but they cannot innovate in their business model. And I cannot tell you how many of our competitors will charge our prospects or clients, millions. I mean, I just had one charge one of my prospects $2 million in setup fees and failed to go live, and failed to go live. And then when they did fail, started getting litigious with the prospect who pulled the plug. Well, the audacity to fail an implementation and then threaten to sue a prospect after they cancel your contract is really stunning. It's really stunning. And so you've got to really look at how you view your client relationships. Do you view it as transactional, like I'm going to squeeze as much money out of this company as possible? Or do you view it as, hey, I'm building a relationship with this company. I'm going to put some skin on the line. I'm going to guarantee the outcome, and that's where I think we can really change hearts and minds and really go to market and provide a very different experience from the minute they sign the license agreement.
All right. So I'm always curious who kind of the perfect client for you guys is, but it sounds, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like basically if you're a work comp heavy organization, whether it's an MGA or a large carrier, all of them
Yeah,
would be a good fit.
I can tell you, we've got multi-billion-dollar carriers currently trialing our product. We've got, but that's a rare thing. First off, most carriers of that size work in a ton of lines that may or may not, it's rare to have them have such a small focus. And
Mm-hmm.
so the real ideal, the ICP, the ideal customer profile, is a monoline comp carrier, a regional TPA, a single state self-insured group whose primary business is comp, and usually they'll carry general liability and some commercial auto, some commercial property. That's the ideal customer profile. There's hundreds of SIGs out there that do this, and then there's dozens of regional TPAs. Although there's been a lot of consolidation in the TPA market, and a lot of those SIGs sometimes end up turning into bigger claims organizations, and so they all evolve, but that's probably the ideal customer profile for us. And that's why I say work comp first organizations, not work comp only. There's very few organizations left that are monoline that only do comp. Very few. Most will do commercial auto, or almost all of them will do general liability. And so it's just something that you've got to be prepared to handle and ready to handle for them.
Okay. And it sounds like the goal is to stay largely focused on comp, not to become a full competitor for like fully multi-line.
We'll see. I'm not going to say that we're not going to go into anything in the future, but the strategy we have right now and the goal and objective allows us to execute really, really well, and to focus on, the key in core systems is every line you go into, you have to really understand that space, and you have to understand all the vendors that have to be integrated with to really adjudicate claims and to underwrite policies for that line of business. And so, you can have a low code platform, and look, we are not a low code platform where we have a scripting language we created, like, Apex for Salesforce, or, we haven't done that. Like, we have a highly configurable system, right? You can configure, you can create custom fields, custom pages, custom files, custom sections. You can customize your claim file to your heart's desire. We have a rating engine that's really, I think, second to none, ready for rating algorithms for our policy system. We've built a highly configurable system, but we do not require our clients to learn a scripting language to configure our product. We also do all the implementations ourselves, and so I think it's important to understand that we don't have a third party SI that's coming in to do the implementations, and so that's why it makes sense for us to continue to have a really heavy focus on comp, because we built a really cool integration bridge called Terra Connect that allows work comp adjusters to order all of their ancillary services like nurse case management, telephonic case management, independent medical exams. They can order it from inside the claim file, and it connects through API to our provider's API. And we integrated with 10 of the largest ancillary service providers in the country, so that all those orders can flow automatically, electronically, back and forth between us and the ancillary service provider. Most ancillary service orders, like independent medical exams and physical medicine for physical therapy, a lot of those are placed via email right now in the insurance industry, which is really scary. Or you have to go into a third party portal and hand key the order in, which is also a giant pain in the butt. And so we're trying to dramatically reduce adjuster time spent on tasks like that, so we can get the load, the claim load up on adjusters, and handle the menial tasks, so they can, the old 80-20 rule applies. We want them focusing on the 20% of claims that provide 80% of the severity, right? And really beelining in on those, and then automating their manual tasks. And a big part of that is integrating with all the ancillary service providers. And it's hard to do that if you just focus on all lines for anybody and you build a low code platform for every line. You're not going to roll in with a ton of integrations that everybody needs for claims
Makes
adjudication,
sense.
and for underwriting, right? Like, you'll have a good platform for a base MVP, but when it comes to really automating the majority of tasks, it's hard to do that if you don't really understand the line of business that you're at.
Okay. So you did mention that at the beginning, uh, cloud native AI. What was the exact
Yeah, AI enabled. Yeah.
AI enabled? Okay. So in my world of interviewing hundreds of founders, the last 2-3 years have become a nightmare, in that every company claims to be an AI company, right?
Yeah.
And I'm non-technical, really, even though I have a degree in management information systems. I did very little coding, and this was long ago. So for you guys, what is the AI that you're dispatching? What is it doing for your clients?
Yeah. Well, since you and I both have MIS degrees, I can say MIS is not a coding degree. It's not. It's about the
Mhm.
management of information systems and budgeting and oversight and project management. It's a different degree. I understand what your background was in education and appreciate it. And I'll say this: AI is just another tool. I have never seen so much focus on which development tools we're using to drive outcomes as I have for AI. I mean, we had a focus. You notice that we're not talking about blockchain anymore.
Correct. For a while, everybody, exactly.
Yeah,
But
yeah, but it's just a data storage tool. Look, if you actually understand how this stuff works, blockchain is a lot like our old linked list that we used to use to build data storage back in the 90s. You had to build a linked list, and you had to build arrays to store and sort data. Of course, blockchain is fundamentally different because it's an immutable ledger and it's encrypted and can't be changed. There's a lot of really cool things about it. AI is a really cool set of tools to use. It's a really cool set of tools. It's a way better hammer. It's a fundamentally different hammer, and it is. Of course, you can use AI to write code. You can use AI in your code. You can use AI on your data. You can use it everywhere, and you should. But to say you're an AI startup just doesn't even make sense to me. Like, it doesn't, because every single platform on the planet is AI enabling right now. They're all AI enabled. If they're not, they're going to be dead, right? It's just it's a tool. Now people are used to using AI, and they expect those capabilities in the products they deliver. We're still technology firms, right? We're technology firms. We're building tools that people use. You have people, process, and technology. We fill the technology leg of that three-legged stool, right? We don't, we generally get involved in the people somewhat, like we help them, and then process. Well, you often will accompany process reengineering with technology implementation, but that's still not the role that most of the technology providers play. And so, look, the reality is to get funding in the VC market right now, you have to say you're an AI startup. And that's why they all say they're AI startups, because otherwise they're not getting funded. They're just not getting funded. I mean, I'm very, very close and very involved with four different VC funds, and they are not funding anything that is not an AI startup. But it doesn't make look to me, it just doesn't make any sense to even call it that, because look, it's still a technology startup. They're leveraging AI as a tool set. The things that you should be doing in AI right now, certainly summarizing text. I mean, my gosh, it is so useful to summarize large bodies of text, whether it's in a document, whether it's in notes. Really great. You definitely can use it for communication and for generative, generating text. You can use it in claims. You can use it for the things that we're using it for. Reserve recommendations, recommending reserves, uh, treatment predictions, treatment recommendations, ROI calculation on those treatments. Those are all machine learning models. Those aren't large language models doing that. That's machine learning models. So there, and on some of those, we use Microsoft Cognitive Services, where we actually work with Cognitive Services and we build that out. On others, we have advanced AI partners like Gradient AI that come in and integrate with our software. And so it just depends on what problem we're solving, on if we're using Cognitive Services or a model that we built or a model that my friends at Gradient built. It really, it you can use a whole bunch of different tools now to accomplish this objective. You can, if you're in property claims, you can use computer vision, which again is a subset of AI. You can do speech to text, text to speech. You can have AI man your chatbot. All of these things are things you should be doing. For us, we started with the logical things in the claim file, with text summarization, get text generation, and then machine learning analysis on reserves, on treatments, treatment predictions, treatment recommendations, reserve recommendations. All of those are AI enabled, because it delivers the highest value to the claimant, to the adjuster. And the same thing in underwriting. You got to be focused on what's the highest value to the underwriter, and that's largely around risk assessment, and so, and text summarization, because you can take the application and summarize it. So there's some great tools you can use. Even in medical records, you can do medical record deduplication. Deduping records is easy to do with AI. We've been leveraging forms of AI, and we've just upgraded our document analysis engine. That we used to have an old school OCR engine. Now we've got Azure OCR, which is fully AI enabled. That's going through and ripping through data on the documents. So all of those things everyone should be doing. I just think it's a bit funny, that they are an AI site. No, you're still a tech company. You're just using new tool sets. That's great. It's great. I mean, I use ChatGPT. I use Claude. I use Cursor AI to write code. I mean, there's a whole lot of great tools out there right now.
Okay. So Terra, six
Yeah.
years now. So that's mature for an insurtech. Um, what is there anything coming up in the development pipeline, in the rest of 2025 that you can already talk about that you're excited about?
Yeah. I mean, well, Terra as a product has been live for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
It's been live for 2 years, because we really started it in earnest in 2020, 2021. And we finally went live with our first client 2 years ago. And then we've been onboarding customers since. And that was on claims. We did claims first. And we're going live this year with our policy, underwriting, billing, and underwrites. That's this year. So the big thing for us is policy, which again for us is quote, bind, pay, issue, renew, rate, underwrite. It's the whole enchilada, right? It's everything, which is a lot to tackle, and it's taken us a few years to build that out. So that's live this year. Two-way texting embedded, included in the application. You don't have to go sign up for a third party claimant texting product with us. We just did a major overhaul in our reporting system. We do have Power BI, but we built a whole bunch of native reports as well that you can customize and schedule for delivery. It's surprisingly hard to do that well, so that's easy. Like, it's like the Mark Twain's old quote: "I would have written a shorter letter, but I didn't have time." And like, I think in coding we could say I would have built an easier product, but I didn't have time. Like, you have to take your time with development so you can, not with the actual coding, because that's getting faster and faster now with all the tooling we're using, but to make it easy and intuitive and understandable, and complete total customization for the user is not always the best thing for them. They often will customize it into a state of unusability. And so our goal is to really be much more like Apple and HubSpot than anybody that's an incumbent in the insurance space. I do not really idolize anyone in the insurance space. I idolize HubSpot and Apple because they've built ecosystems, integrations, and an ease of use that makes people just fanatical about the products. And they say the most important thing I want to hear from my users, when it just works. It just works. I use it because it just works. When you talk to somebody who uses Apple products, they use HubSpot, they carry those tools with them no matter what company they go to because it just works. It's easy to use. It's intuitive. It's understandable. And those are curated experiences for the user. Apple products do not have every customization available. HubSpot does not have everything you can do with it like Salesforce does. But if you put Salesforce or HubSpot in front of me, I pick HubSpot 10 times out of 10 because it's an easier user experience. It's an easier UI. It's an easier configuration. It's easier setup. It's less likely to get screwed up. Same thing with Apple products. I am a fanatic for Apple. I use every product I have with Apple. I don't like Android. I know Android provides infinite customization, but it also gives you infinite opportunities to screw it up. And we see that in claims and policy software. So that's
Okay.
what's next for us, you know.
Perfect, fantastic. As a fellow, techie from the 90s, uh, and I thought that I was going to be a lot more technical. I thought that I was going to go into computer science. I ended up switching to MIS, and never actually working on that side. But I used to be a significant Windows Power user, and swore never to go Mac. Right, and then during
Me too.
college,
Me too.
right, it happens to that's what I was during college. Mac switched to using Intel processors, right, and became a lot more compatible. And then iPhone happened, and finally I got into the ecosystem by getting an iPhone and then a Mac, and of course now I'm all Apple. And what I told fellow techies along the way was yes, go Apple and stop fighting with it, because right, with Windows we were used to fighting with it to get it to do what we wanted to do. With Apple, the key is don't fight with it. Learn to use it the way that it was intended, and it'll just work. So basically, what you're saying is, hey, uh, insurance organizations, stop fighting to like overly customize
Yes.
your systems.
Yeah.
Here, this was specifically designed for work comp, and I promise you it'll work beautifully. And I won't even charge you to convert, or I won't even charge you to convert until after you've converted. And I'm so sure that you will love it that I'm not even tying you down to a contract.
Yes. 100%.
That I think that's a beautiful proposition.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thanks. Yeah. I agree. And it's like, because this one I can live with too. I can go to bed at night and live with myself. I don't have, I don't have all that baggage of angry people. I mean, just think about this. Like, there's a lot of angry people that are really pissed off at their core systems because the implementations failed, they're over budget, they were late, and the system provider, and a lot of these 36 core systems, they start charging you for licensing and hosting the day you sign the contract, even though you don't get live for a year or 2 years. So you're paying for a license and for hosting that you're not even using. It's like, it's
that is
insulting.
crazy.
It's insulting. It doesn't even make sense. Like logically, just think about that. In what world do you pay for something that you don't use before you use it? It doesn't make sense. It just so it that's where I think that you say, hey, we've got skin in the game. We care about this. I believe that we're going to use it. And look, dashboarding, we used to do a totally when we first rolled out 2 years ago, we had a totally customized dashboard. Totally customized dashboard. You know what we saw when we watched adjusters start logging and using adjudicating claims? A big giant pile of data. It was word salad. Didn't make any sense. Dashboard didn't make any sense. It wasn't easy to understand, wasn't easy to look at, did not solve their problems. We got rid of that and we said, we're going to give you an adjuster dashboard, a supervisor dashboard, an executive dashboard, and we're going to give you the best practices. That means when you log in, we're going to show you the most critical claims on top. You're going to have some search, sort, and filter capabilities, some, but we're gonna really tailor that experience to you, that role that you play in your company. And we found out, like we saw people logging into our software from their iPhones, and so we started calling them like, "What on earth are you doing on your iPhone on your Safari web?" Because our system is responsive, it works. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "Oh, I'm approving reserves." Like, why are you logging in from your phone to approve reserves? Well, it has to happen immediately, or the payment can't go out. And I'm a supervisor, and I'm out at Target shopping over my lunch break, but it needs to get approved. I don't have time to go back to my laptop. I said, okay, so we built a really tailored mobile app, and you know what it does? It's really simple. Logs in, you see your claims. You can just look at the notes. You can't really modify any of them. You can look at the reserve changes, and you can see if you have something to approve, and you can approve it. So you can read the notes, and you can see the reserve change. You can see the previous reserve. You can approve it. Like that, we didn't build a panacea. And if you look at like what HubSpot did with their mobile app, you have a fraction of the functionality on the HubSpot mobile app. But man, it's the stuff you actually need to do on your phone. Everything else you go to your computer for. And the same thing with Apple. Like your iPhone, you can't do everything on the iPhone you can do on an iPad because the iPad screen is bigger. So they chop down the functionality to make it usable. And the other thing that Apple really taught me, and I've been using it the same amount of time you have, about 2003, 2004 is when I started exploring it. But when the iPhone came out, I got the iPhone, and then I went full Mac in '09. 2 years after the iPhone, I was fully Mac, never looked back. And Windows, you're always jacking with it. It's just a pain in the butt because things don't work across all your devices. Now they're getting a lot better about that. But what I love about my Mac is the same thing I want people to love about our software. Is that when you log in any experience, you have the same data presented the same way. It's all synced in real time.
Everything talks to each other
When you
without.
get a text on your phone, the phone call and the text all show up on your other devices, and then
Mhm.
your photos all sync in real time. Your iCloud syncs in real time. You can actually use your iPad as a monitor for your laptop. Like there's just some really cool stuff they can do. And so that's why I think cloud native is important, because remember, we're controlling the hardware and the software and the APIs, and we're controlling the implementation. And so that means that we're going to probably grow slower. We're going to say no a little bit more, a lot more, to customization requests. But we're going to deliver the best customer experience that's ever existed in the core system space. I'll promise you, for the people that are our target audience, they're not going to find a better user experience than us. But there's going to be a whole lot of people we have to say no to be able to deliver that kind of experience. So
That is a mic drop, if I've ever heard one, here on the podcast, and we're running out of time. But what a promise. So for the listeners, you're when this goes live, I will tag both you and the company on LinkedIn. And thank you so much for your time. It's been fascinating. I love your passion for what you're doing. And it made absolute sense to me. I don't come from the work comp background, but it makes absolute sense to me. So listeners, go if you're in the work comp space, go check it out. This is probably what you want to be working on, what you want your people working on. So James, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Tony.